Hello crafters and welcome to P2PCrafts online show brought to you by From Picture to Page and Beyond Papercraft shows, our scrapbooking, mixed media art and papercrafting community. Now P2PCraft Online is bringing you over 30 demonstrations from our local retailers and some talented guest artists. And I'm your host, Michelle Brown, who's Creative Director at From Picture to Page. Now, for all the details of our online show sessions, head over to our website, FromPictureToPageAndBeyond.com.au, where you can see all the sessions for the 3 days. You can get links to all of our guests and our local retailers, and of course, continue to support our crafting community. Now, while you're on our website, make sure you're on our mailing list as well, so we can send you all the updates as they come out, as well as the links to the replay, so you can catch up or, of course, go back and watch your favourite ones again. Now, whether you're watching us here live on Facebook or on YouTube or a replay, let us know that you're here. Pop in the comments, say hello, let us know if you've got any questions, and we're really looking forward to have a fantastic day with you today. Now, firstly, a huge thanks to our sponsors. Firstly, Uniquely Creative, who specialise in curating kits of matching papers and products with their Creative Kit Club each month. And they're really passionate about making beautiful stamps, kits, dies and embellishments. So make sure you check out the Uniquely Creative website. And also thanks to Darkroom Doors, who's a small Australian-based business in New South Wales, who's family-owned and support independent craft stores with their beautiful rubber stamps and stencils, and love to inspire crafters through their work through Facebook and YouTube. So it's really exciting to be kicking off today. Like we said, pop in the comments, say hello, make sure you give us a like, thumbs up, of course, share us with your crafty friends, and really settle down for a fantastic session. So this morning, let's get started as P2PCraft presents Cheryl Boglioli. Hello, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you?
We are well. It's so great to have you with us today.
I am glad to be back again.
That's good. So for those that may not have come across you before, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Cheryl Boglioli, and I am a mixed media artist. I believe that I am creating, exhibiting, and teaching the art life. I love to travel around and teach at independent stores and events, all about mixed media. I'm also the design team coordinator for the Crafters Workshop and the creative director for the creative team for Gel Press. So that keeps me busy doing lots of different things, but playing with my favorite products. Yes.
Wow. And what a fantastic marriage of the two companies as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. So Cheryl, what have you got to show us today?
Well, I thought today I'd play with some stencils and show you some different things that you can do with stencils. And depending on time, we might be able to get some gel prints in there too, working with the stencils, and just create a couple of slimline cards, or at least get them started and just give you some ideas of some different techniques that you can do with just a few stencils.
Excellent. So what is it about stencils that really captures your attention?
I love playing with stencils because I love to build them up, and I love to use them to build up layers on my projects. Sometimes you feel like you don't have the confidence to draw, and many times there's stencils that can do that for you, or at least get you started. You can also use them with inks. You can use them with markers. You can use them with paints. You can use them with most mediums, and you can use them again and again and again, and yet get completely different looks every time that you use them.
Yeah, excellent. And that's a really good point, because sometimes people think if they can't draw, that excludes them from being creative, but that's just not the case.
Not at all. Not at all. Sometimes you can use a stencil and use it just the way it is, or sometimes you can use just a piece of it, or use it to build your foundation and then build up from there to give it your own personality and your own spin, so it doesn't look the same as, everything else that everybody's done with that particular stencil.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, we'll let you get organized and we'll jump right in.
All righty.
Excellent. Now, while Cheryl's getting her camera set up. Good morning, everybody. I can see Lisa there. I can see Rosalind. I can see Eileen and Libby and Michelle. Oh, thank you all so much for joining us. It really is going to be a fantastic weekend of a whole heap of demonstrations. And like Cheryl said, the great thing about stencils is that even if you feel that you're limited in your creativity because you can't draw, there's always another opportunity. There's stencils, there's using stamps, there's using tissue paper, there's all sorts of different ways that you really can bring to life your different creations, and you don't necessarily have to draw. Having said that, of course, if you are a drawer, then the sky is the limit. There is nothing really that you can't do. So Cheryl, I think we're nearly ready. Not quite. Okay, hi Sarah, hi Florina. Okay, we'll just give Cheryl one more minute and then we'll be straight back. So it looks like Cheryl's ready. So take it away, Cheryl.
Alrighty, so we're just going to play with some different looks today and see what we can do. So one of the things I wanted to show you real quick was I wanted to create a spider web background, but I wanted the web to be really sparkly. And I didn't have sparkly paper. Sparkly's not something I usually do. But I did have some really yummy, shimmery goodness from the Crafters Workshop. So I took a little bit of that and just painted it on a piece of paper that's going to be my card front. Just used a paintbrush and just covered the whole little card front with this shimmery goodness. And I'm going to play the magic of TV here and show you that I already have one that is ready to go and is dry. So I don't know if you can see the difference between a plain piece of paper and now this
Yeah,
little,
we can see it's a bit sparkly.
A little bit, just a little bit. And that's what I like about this. It's not super glittery, just a little bit of shimmery goodness. And then to create our spider web, I am just going to place the spider web where I want it on my card. Now, because I'm working on a glass mat right now, usually I don't tape my stencils down, but because I'm working on a glass mat, I want to make sure that it's not slipping and sliding everywhere. So I did put a little bit of tape on the stencil just to kind of hold it in place. And I'm going to use a black gesso. And the reason why I'm using gesso instead of the acrylic paint is because I want this to give a really flat black look because it's kind of Halloween, you know? So the best way to get clean stenciled lines when you're working with a stencil and working with any kind of acrylic paint or a gesso is to use a cosmetic sponge. So I have a few little cosmetic sponges here, and I love these because you can use the flat side of them. You're not going to use them like you would put on makeup because you can't see. So you want to use them straight up and down. So you're using this very flat edge. And then when they get really cruddy, so this one I've already used, I can just take a pair of scissors and cut off the dried paint. And now I have a soft, flat surface to work with again. So I have my card front here, and I'm going to take a little bit of the black gesso. And Michelle, can you see the little palette that I have here next to me?
Yes, we can see that.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, the thing with stencils is I don't want to take my sponge and just dab it in and then start dabbing it on the sponge because you see I get a big glob there. So you want to kind of dab in your paint and then dab off your paint so that you've got a smooth, even coat on your sponge. Less is more. You can always add a little bit extra, but if you add too much and it smushes underneath the stencil, then you've ruined it and you're not going to get those really nice crisp lines. So I've pounced on, pounced off. So kind of remember Karate Kid for you guys who are my age. Wax on, wax off. This is pounce on, pounce off. And then I'm going to pounce over the stencil to get the look that we're looking for. And you can see that it covers very quickly and gives us this really nice, crisp look, unless you bump it the way that I did right now with my hands. Trying to keep my fingers out of the way of the camera, and stencil gives it a whole new thing. So I would just continue to pounce, and you can go back and add more. You could do less. We could add other colors and coat this entire page with a little bit of this black paint. And just keep pouncing. Remember, every time, so I pounce until I'm not getting any more paint coming off, or until it's so light that you can't see. Then I go back and add more. But see, this a little goes a really long way. But when it starts fading out like this, you can go back and dab a little bit more on. But every time you dab on, dab off. And make sure that you get those really clean, crisp lines. So we're about done with this little page here. And you can see, I could just kind of fade this off if you wanted to. That's another thing that you can do if you didn't want it to be black all the way across. You can just not add more paint and then just let it kind of fade out into nothing. And that's a great way to get different gradations of color while you're stenciling. But again, I have one that I've already finished. So we'll move this one off to the side, but you can see how we've got really nice, crisp, clean lines by doing that technique rather than a paintbrush.
Yeah, you certainly
So you can
have.
see here's one.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
So it is, and it's really nice when you want to get those. You know, sometimes people get frustrated when they're using mixed media and stencils because they say that the paint gets underneath of them, or it smushes, or they can't ever get it clean. Most of the time, that's because you're using too much paint and you're using the wrong applicator to do so. So if you try to, work it through, that's one of the things. So if I had this little card here, then we could make a quick little card out of it. I could even rough up these edges and give it a more little roughed up look here.
Yeah. Now, Cheryl, you mentioned a slimline card. We're just starting to see those in Australia. Could you tell us a bit about that, the size of them?
Yes, a slimline card is really great because it doesn't require any extra postage to mail it. So they're very trendy right now. They're very popular. They fit in a business size envelope. So now I'm going to tell you in US measurements. I'll let you figure it out for Australia measurements. Yeah, there you go. But this card, I was able to take one piece of 8.5 by 11, and I cut it down to 7 inches. So I kept the 8.5, so it's 8.5 wide, and cut it down to 7 inches, and then scored it in half at 3.5 and folded it, and that gives me a slimline card. Now the card front, I took the piece that I cut off, and I trimmed it down to 8.25 by 3.25. And so that gives us...
Yeah, take the trimmed off part for the front. That's fantastic.
Yes. So, a lot of people who like to make the little A2 cards, you get 2 cards out of 1. Well, this one just gives you 1 card, but you get the little layer that goes on top of it. So very quickly, we could make really detailed cards, but I thought today we would just show you how to make some quick and easy cards, because I don't know about you guys, but I just never seem to have enough time to do everything that I want to do. So I'm just going to layer this on here very quickly. Black on black is hard to see. There you go. And then I did add I cut out some little die cuts. I actually cut this from my Cricut, but you guys could use a die cut, or you could use some little paper embellishments, anything that you already have to add a little flavor and a little character to it. So we could very quickly just put a couple dots of glue on here and add a little boo. And then put our spider on my card. Living in his little nest there. But he needs some eyeballs, so I'm going to give him some squiggly eyes. So we're just going to give him some little eyeballs.
And Cheryl, what glue are you using there?
This is, I'm not positive that this is iCraft. This is by ThermoWeb.
Right.
So it's just a mixed media glue, but you could use any kind of any kind of adhesive would work really well, but something that dries clear, and a little goes a long way too. So,
that's a good
and now
lesson.
look, I have this cute little card
That is very
that,
cute.
and super quick and super easy. So that's, again, you could add more embellishments to it and really kind of dress it up, but just something super quick and really easy. We
Yeah.
have a little Halloween card.
Lovely.
So there you go. Now, I told you I'd show you how to do a couple things with the same kind of stencil. So how could we get some other looks? Because you saw that stencil, when you go paint through it, is going to give me the background instead of the web itself. So what if you wanted the web? You could actually use your gel plate to be able to do that. So let's pull out. I've got a little bit of some white paint here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white paint on my gel plate. And I'm just going to brayer this out in a nice, even coat on my gel plate. And we will brayer that off, clean my brayer a little bit. Now, when you lay your stencil down on top of your gel plate, I could again take a piece of my card front and some paper that I have. And the reason why I want a piece of paper is because I'm just going to lay this down on my stencil. And then if I put a piece of paper over it, it's going to cover all those spaces so I don't get paint everywhere.
Yeah, so
where
you're sort
my
of
card
working in
didn't
reverse
cover.
this way.
Yes, but it also, it keeps so that I don't get the paint everywhere and I can rub it through. So it kind of covers what I did because I put way too much paint for that little piece of front that I did. So give it a nice little press, give it a nice little rub. And then when we lift it up, so I want to get a little bit more paint off of that area there. There we go. Now when I lift it up, I get much the same, I get the opposite. So now you see I have the white paint that's on the card.
Yeah.
But now I want to go ahead and get a little bit more of this paint out of those holes from the web and just clean that out very quickly.
Yeah, and you've left the stencil in place. And then
Yes, so now I lift the stencil up and I can take another piece and lay it on my card somewhere. I'm trying to just find a good, happy little place here. And give that a rub. So now the white that I'm going to pick up is the actual web, not the background itself. So you see you get two different looks using the same stencil.
Oh, you do.
This I've used white paint, and here I used the black paint. But you see how it gets, you do get a different look depending on what you're using. So this has little softer edges on it. Here you can see the little crisp, but it has a little shadow on it from where the stencil was on. And then this was very, very crisp and clean. So I don't know if you can see all three of them in the shot, but there you can see three different looks just using either black or white paint.
Yeah, we can just see the Halloween card. It just needs to be moved up just a little bit. Yeah, that's it.
There you go. Yeah, so you can see the three different looks that you have there. But, all right. So we could take these and put them on a card front just like we did this one. But you guys know how to do that. So let's play some more and see what we can do. So let me clean this up. And I might even leave that. So I'm just using paper right now and getting some of that paint off of the surface. So I could clean that with a wipey or something of that nature, but get this out of the way. So another really simple, so let's do the same kind of showing you how to use paint, but we're going to shadow now and create a little bit. So I've got these beautiful flowers here, and this is on a stencil by the Crafters Workshop. Looking for the number here. This is TCW 921, and I like this little flower right here. So I can center this flower and use our palette again. So that's dry, so I don't have to worry about that. And let's pick a couple of colors. So I'm going to do some green. There we go. And then for the flower itself, let's do a little bit of pink and a darker pink, and show you how we can use that same sponging techniques to get a couple of different looks with this and actually shade with our paint at the same time.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So I love this because, again, it makes it look, it gives it like an artistic flair when you're still just using a stencil and paint.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have a green here, so I'm going to do this little dreams in green. Kind of make sure that's squared up a little bit and centered, because this will be my card front. And I'm going to pounce in my green paint, wipe on, wipe off, pounce on, pounce off, and then come in and pounce in the words here. And just make sure that you get a good little pouncy little action going on. And I love this because, again, this is small enough that I can see where I'm going. And so I'm not going to get into the flower because I can actually see where I'm pouncing, rather than if I had a big block or a big brush or something and you can't really see where it's going. So we've got that. Now I'm going to take some of the light pink and come in, pounce on, pounce off, always. Just keep telling yourself that.
Yeah. Now, Lisa was just asking if they're just normal makeup sponges or something special.
Nope. These are normal makeup sponges. I find the best place to get them is from like the dollar store or, someplace like that.
Yeah.
You don't need to get anything. These are great. And the reason why I like these over another sponge is because these are so dense that the paint, it doesn't just suck up the paint really quickly. These are super dense, so they hold on to the paint, but they don't, soak up the paint and then squish it all out when you press down on it.
Yeah, and when you were here in Australia, I think we found some like at Chemist Warehouse. So
yes, we did. Yep. We had to find somewhere else. So now I took the same sponge and I went into the eggplant, and now I'm just going to pounce into the bottom of this little flower and some in the center, just to give it a little blend. And you see that it's just going to blend right in, and we'll get a couple different shades because I'm using the same sponge.
Ah.
Now when I pull this up, I love this. This is the magic. Now look how pretty that is.
Yeah.
Really soft. So then you could, add some more little details. You could either kind of come across the edges here, or you could, kind of buff the edges a little bit, and just to kind of frame this little slimline front piece.
Yeah.
You could do this as subtle as you want or dark. Yep.
Yeah. And then, Andrew was just asking, Anya, can you use any sorts of acrylic paints?
You can, but you need to realize too that because I'm using, these are the Dina Wakley, these are more of a heavy body paint, so a little bit. Now, if I was using the fluid acrylics, they're going to soak up a little bit more because they're more of a fluid viscosity and stuff, but you can still use them. And I actually love the fluid paints to teach with because they dry so quickly. But as long as you keep it really nice and neat and clean, then you don't have to worry about, even though this is heavy body paint, that's going to dry super quick because I didn't use a lot and build up a really super heavy layer. So then we could just take that and add that to our card front.
And I think it's great to remember that these techniques, you can use them in your art journals, you can use them in your scrapbook layouts, as well as card making.
Absolutely. You can use them on anything. I mean, mixed media, I use them on my canvases too. Now, you do have to realize that if you do it on a canvas, and now I could add, a little bit of bling on here. I could add some more little doodles, but if you just want simple and easy, there we have another card ready to go. And all we used was a little bit of paint and a little bit of stencils.
Yeah.
But when I use a canvas, and I don't think I have one right here, the canvas is a stretched canvas, so the back of it can sag. So a lot of times what I'll do is put a book or something underneath of it so that it has some stability so that when you press down on the canvas that it doesn't push your canvas and dent it. So how are we doing on time?
Yeah, you got another 5 minutes or so?
Okay, all right.
I know you could just play all morning.
I could. I know. I love it. It's just so much fun to do. So we can take another stencil, and I think that this makes a really pretty little. So we could do different colors on this, and I don't want that to move. So I'm going to grab a little bit of tape. Again, because I'm working on a glass mat. If you're working on a nonstick mat, they don't slide as much, but because I'm working on this glass, it does have a tendency to slide. And
particularly if you think you're going to get interrupted or your hand strength's not the best, this is a great way of making sure that stencil will stay.
Absolutely. So I can take these same colors or add some more, and we could create a little rainbow here. So I've got some green, just pounce that in.
Yeah, and like you said, it's so important that you just use less paint that you expect that you would need and then just build it up really slowly, or else it's just endless frustration with stencils.
It is, because, you can, like I said, you can always go back and add more to it. But if I just did a really light layer, for example, so let's see, I just come in here and I just did a really light layer, I can always come back and now add a little bit more to build that in and to get that really nice coverage that you want. But what happens if you don't, and you said I had 5 minutes, so I probably don't have enough time to do every one of these a different color. So I'll use this as an example. If I had a bunch of paint here and I did not pounce off and I just grabbed that paint, so as you can see, I've got a lot of paint on there.
Yeah, and I think everyone's yelling, don't do it.
Okay, then you already know, that if I was going to pounce that on there, that paint would smush up underneath, and then I wouldn't get those really nice crisp lines. But you see, by using this little sponge, I can see where I'm going, and I can get right in a certain area. And I'm just doing one little bar here instead of, a whole bunch. Yeah. And we can create some different colors and just swap them out. And just keep layering. Now, I have my AC on and it's hot, so my paint's drying a little bit faster. So I do encourage you that anytime that you're trying different paints or, the paint that you're not familiar with, try to see how it's going to act in your environment. And that's something I've learned the hard way, because when teaching, how things dry in Florida may be completely different than how it's going to dry, for example, in Australia, or when we've gone out to Phoenix and taught up there, or, when I travel and I teach in the snow, which I'm not used to at all, being from Florida, it's completely different. So think about that when you're playing with different mediums and working with them to see how they're going to dry.
Yeah, and that's certainly been our theme for the last few months, is just spend the time to get to know your mediums. Play with your paints, play with your pastels, play with your inks, because then you can go with confidence knowing what results you're going to get.
Yep. And then I have one little oddball here, so we're just going to fill him in with some green. And now I have this beautiful little color, and we could do a stamp on this. So this is I got some new toys to play with. This is a stamp by Picket Fence Studio.
Oh, okay.
And this says, art grows brain cells. So I love
that.
it.
We must all have so many brain cells.
I know. So we're going to put that on there. And then I had a little card here. Now, this is already, because I did such a thin layer, it's already starting to dry. So I know that I can ink over it and not, get it too messy or whatever. So we're just going to give a little pounce there. I think I need to add some re-inker to that. And just put this right in there. Give a little press. Yeah, I need to re-ink that ink pad.
Actually, we're seeing it the other way, Cheryl. That's it.
Okay.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, see, I never know which side. So there you go. So you've got art grows brain cells, and we could put that on a card front. I think I like the white better.
Yeah, and you've got them all ready to go. And we will do a sample later of the slimline cards, because I think the 8.5 by 3.5 inches is actually a large DL envelope in Australia, so it's not actually a standard envelope, and it doesn't quite fit on an A4. So we just need to make them that little bit smaller, but we'll certainly be talking about that later this weekend.
Yeah, because you can also take, now in the States, we could make, you can make your own envelopes. So I have some here that I've just scored, and it would fit in a little, pocket envelope. And then you could decorate that and slide it right in, put some postage on it, and give it away to somebody. So there you go.
Excellent. That's great. Fantastic. Well, Cheryl, we'll let you get your camera back, and then we'll have a quick chat.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. What a fantastic way. And again, I love how Cheryl reminds us that less is definitely more when it comes to stencils. I know I am not always the most patient crafter, and I'm just so good at getting that paint under the stencils. And then I'm just so heartbroken because it's a mess. But dab on, dab off will win every time. So Cheryl, thank you so much for that reminder when it comes to stenciling.
Good. Yes. It's something, if you'll just kind of say that in your head, it'll become a habit, and make sure you do it every time. Dab on, dab off, dab on, dab off.
So we wonder why we're dreaming about Cheryl and the Karate Kid. Dab on, dab off. We remember.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And what we will do with the replay is we'll get the links to all those stencils as well. So we'll make sure that people can find them, and the Dina Wakely paints as well.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
I can do that.
So fantastic. So Cheryl, where can people find you if they want to learn more?
You can always find me. My website is CherylBoglioli.com. And you can find, if you really want to stay in touch with me, follow me on Facebook at Cheryl Boglioli Designs.
Excellent. Well, we'll
and YouTube.
Oh, yes, of course. Excellent. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I
Excellent.
wish I was there because
I
I was
know,
there
and
2
it's hard to
years
believe.
ago this weekend.
Yep, 2 whole years
Yeah,
since you were here. But
I
we certainly will
know.
have plans to bring you and others back soon.
Cannot wait.
Excellent. Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Cheryl. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Well, I hope you enjoyed that fantastic session with stencils. Like I said, there's just so many different ways to use stencils. And for those of you that haven't seen the gel press before, there is certainly a whole heap of videos out there. And I think we'll have something later in the weekend as well to give you a bit more information. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks for the likes, the hearts, the thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment and, of course, share us with your crafty friends. And we're really looking forward to catching up with you again soon. So we hope you have a crafty day.